Marvelous has three kinds of pleats. The first one is knife pleat, and we can see a little thumbnail representing what they look like. Then we have the box pleats, and then we have the accordion pleats. And in here I have slightly larger images and some real-life examples. So the knife pleats look like this, and one thing to know about them is that they have those V shapes. They have a bit of an angle, and one side is longer than the other. So this side is exactly the same as this one, but the one in the middle is not the same length. And in accordion, every side is exactly the same length. So the knife pleats look like this. We have the angle of those pleats, and they're almost lying on top of each other. This nice smooth effect at the top. The accordion pleat is more straightforward. There is simply a V shape sticking out. There is no angle. There is nothing like that. It's throughout the this piece, this skirt, the detail is basically the same. It just gets a little bit wider towards the bottom. And then we have the box pleat, which is I would say more complex than the other two, and it has really nice effects on this skirt, for example. But this is something that we can see on the back of the shirts. We might notice this detail right in the middle of the back, going from top to bottom. There are several ways we can approach creating the pleats, and in this video we'll begin with the knife pleats, and there are a few ways we can approach this, and I'm going to show just one of them. We'll begin with measuring the avatar. We'll go into avatar, measurement, basic circumference measurement, and I will select somewhere above the hips. Click OK, and we can see that the length is roughly 660 millimeters. So the next thing I will do is we'll create a belt. I will simply left click, and in the width I will choose the half of the length of the waist. So that's going to be roughly 330. And in here I'll choose something like, let's say, 70 millimeters. Okay, the next thing we need to understand is how the pleats inside of Marvelous are created, and I'm talking about the kind of pleats that are generated using those tools, because the pleats can be customized outside of those three that we have: the accordion, box, and knife. We can create our own pleats, but we will need to use a manual sewing to achieve the look that we want, and we'll concentrate on the ones that we have here in Marvelous. To understand how the pleats work, I'm going to create a line here, and this box, this rectangle that I'm showing, that's we'll call this a segment, and every pleat consists of 3 segments. So that means that we need to divide every garment that we create, and if we want to use those tools up here, we need to create the amount of segments that is divisible by 3. And to do that quickly, we simply need to right click on the segment, click split, and in here we can choose uniform split and the number of segments. So I'm going with 18, and that means that since I selected 18, it means that there's going to be 6 pleats on this skirt, at least on the front of the skirt. And Now we need to create the folds themselves. We need to create the internal lines and for Marvelous to apply the pattern to. So one way to do that is to use the polygonal tool and simply click and drag. But since we have so many of them, we'll use a different option, and that's internal line. So right click here, I've set as internal line, and in here we'll set the number of internal lines as, let's say 17, because we have 18 segments. Then we'll choose the distance, and the distance is the distance that we have between those points, and in our case it's 61.7, and we'll click OK. So that's the basics of the Pleats creation. We need to have segments, the amount of segments that can be divided by 3, and when that is done, we need to decide what kind of pattern we're going for. So we'll select the Pleats fold, and using this tool we need to click somewhere that is inside the garment, and then we need to drag this line across all the internal lines that we have, and then double click. When we do that, we have this window that we saw in the introduction, and in here we can choose the kind of pleats we're going for. This is the pattern of the pleats, and I'm going to go with the knife pleats. We have the reverse direction. We can choose what direction the folds take, and to understand this a little bit better, let me zoom in. As you can see, there's this line is in red color and this line is in blue color, and this is something that we discuss in the fold angle video. So the red color represents the folds that are outside folds, and the blue color indicate the folds that are inside folds. So if we, for some reason, are not satisfied with how those pleats are created, if we don't want the first one to be the outside folds, we can simply press reverse direction. And once we do that, we can see that the color of those internal lines changes. Then we have the number of internal lines per pleat, and this in here we have 2 and 3, and this is something that is quite interesting. In our case, I'm going to go with 3, because the knife pleats that I go for, it consists of 3 lines, 1, 2, 3. But if we choose, let's say 2, and we create the pleats, the result might be quite interesting. It's not going to be knife pleats, but it's going to be something different, and sometimes it can be desirable, but it's just something to experiment with. It will depend on the amount of the internal lines, and for this video I'm going to go with the classic designs that we have. So I'm going to choose 3, and in here we have also fold angle, which is 0. It's going to be the outside fold, and 360 is going to be inside fold, and we can have something that is a little bit less drastic. We can choose it from here. I'm going to go with default and click OK. We can see that the color changes. It's now brighter as well, so we can see clearly what fold does what. And with that done, we need to go into pleats sewing, and this works just like the seam tools inside of Marvelous. So we click on one point, click on the other one, and then once we click on the first point of the garment that has all the pleats, Marvelous automatically has this this snapping feature, and it snaps in 3. As we can see, it goes 3 segments, another 3 segments, and so on. So we'll drag this all the way to the end, click, and a whole bunch of operations take place, and now everything is perfectly sewn together for the seams, for the pleat to work. I'm going to freeze this segment and we'll simulate. We can also activate strengthen that we talk a little bit about in another video. This way the fabric will straighten up a little bit, so it's not so chaotic, and we can see very clearly that this is in fact a knife pleats. So with that done, we can create the other side.
If you enjoy this content or find it useful, please consider supporting me by buying me a cup of coffee via the link in the description.
So we have this perfect knife pleats effect on our skirt. I'm going to undo the strengthen, so the skirt is a little bit more relaxed. And in here it looks a bit different on the sides where we connected the garments, but there's no issue in here. The problem is that one of the folds is simply not showing in the 3D view. If we go in here and deactivate internal lines, we can see that in fact everything is perfect. There are no issues in here. Next we have accordion pleats, and this type of pleats works fairly straightforward. It doesn't require any garments to be sewn to. It can work on it can work across the garments, or it can work locally. In this case, we'll be creating those kind of pleats on the skirt that we have in here. So to begin, we need to create some internal lines. For that, I will select those two, right click, offset as internal line along curve, and I'll choose a random number, something like 50, and click OK. Then we need to tell Marvelous what kind of pleats we want. At first it might seem that there is an issue in here, that we wouldn't be able to select all of those segments because there's a curvature. But if we click once at the beginning and then we move the mouse somewhere, let's say here, and instead of double clicking we click once, we can continue this line, and when we're satisfied we can double click. And so in here I will select accordion pleats. I will set the number to 3, click OK, and then simulate. We can do some strengthening to see the effects a little bit better. And as we can see, this is a perfect accordion effect on the skirt. Next we have the box pleats. We'll use something different this time around. It's not going to be a skirt, it's not going to be something simple as a rectangle, it's going to be a shirt. But before we move on to creating this kind of pleats, let's look at this example to help us understand how this type of pleats works. For the box pleats to work, we need to have 5 internal lines. Let's create the pattern for the pleats. So to make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 internal lines. Double click and look at the color of the lines. We have red, blue, then this one is neutral, red, blue. So this is outside, inside, outside, inside. It's not symmetrical, it's set to knife pleats. What we need to have instead is something that is symmetrical. If we look at the structure of the box pleats, we have an outside fold, an inside fold, and we have exactly the same thing happening on the other side. So if we switch to box pleats, look what happens. If we go back, and now box pleats, we have inside, outside, outside, inside. So this is just something to keep in mind. If we want to make box pleats, we need to have 5 internal lines. Otherwise, it will do something other than a box pleats. Okay, with that information, let's move on to creating those pleats on the back of the shirt that we have. Now we'll begin by creating some points, and I'm going to choose a random number. It's going to be the width of the top segment of this pleat. So I'll probably go with 10 millimeters. Right click, 10 millimeters, same, 10 millimeters. And this should be enough, right? We have 5 points, we have 5 segments for the pleats to work. The problem though is that the pleats sewing tool works with 3 segments at once. So if we select it, let's say, just for the sake of illustration, we started here and then we wanted to have our pleat right here. If we click on the first point, we have the snapping selecting 3 segments for us, and then if we go any further, we have this crazy thing happening. Basically, the pleat sewing wants to select 3 segments for it to work. So to accommodate this behavior, we need to create more points. We need to add 2 extra ones. So right click, 10, and click OK. Then I'm going to remove the linked editing. I'm going to remove the baselines, so we have a clean surface to work with. And then I'm going to create 1 internal line right in the middle. And then I'm going to offset a few internal lines. It's going to be 2 on this side with 10 millimeters distance, so 3. And I'm going to do the same with the reverse direction and click OK. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. So this is perfect for the tool to work, but this is too many for the box pleats. So this was actually unnecessary. I needed to create just the 2 of those lines We still need to have the points, but the lines, we can simply remove them. Then at the top we need to have a portion of the garment to which the pleat is going to be sewn to. And since we have 20 millimeters for the top segment, I'm going to add 2 points in here with total length of 20 millimeters. So again, right click, 10. Okay, so this structure is perfect for the tool to work, and let's try it out. We can click here, then we click here. It's 3, 3. Okay. Now we're going to go into the Pleats fold, and we're going to tell Marvelous that this is going to be a box pleat. And I want to make sure that everything is right in terms of the folding. The first one, I want it to be going inside, and I want the second one to be outside fold, which is correct. If we are looking for the opposite result, we can simply click reverse direction, but this is fine. So with that selected, we click OK, and then we try and sew this together. And we come across this this problem, because we are using a existing garment that was already sewn together. There are seam lines everywhere, so we need to make sure that we're not intersecting anything. So to fix this, we'll go into Edit Seams, select the first seam, and we click and drag, move it out of the way, select the next point, and then we move those things out of the way. So now this portion where we want the pleats to be is completely empty, and this is perfect for this tool to work. So we're going to click here, 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 and here. And hit simulate. And I'll add a little bit of resolution to the garment, so there is nothing strange happening here. And this is something that we sometimes see on the shirts, this kind of sleeve. We can see that there is another fold right in the middle, which is this one. Even though it's set to 180, which means that it's completely neutral, we still have fold rendering turned on, so we can either turn it off, or we can remove the fold altogether. And it's a strange effect on this particular garment, because the shirt was fairly tight fit on this character. So to make it look a little bit better, we're going to select the garments and increase the size a little bit. So now this is looking a little bit more natural. Just to summarize everything that we've talked about in terms of pleats and the types of pleats, it's a very limited amount. It's only what the program offers in terms of tools. There are a lot more different kinds of pleats out there. It's just that the tools that Marvelous has, those 3 types of pleats and pleat sewing, it's simply an easy and fast way to do the work that otherwise would have been done manually. We can always come in here and change the way we want the fold to behave, and we can always select as many folds as we want, and the limit here is our knowledge on how the garments are sewn together in real life, meaning that we can create any kinds of pleats. It's just a matter of selecting the right segments and sewing them to the right segments. And Marvelous does it automatically for us, but in a somewhat limited way, using those two tools. But this is not what the pleats are limited to. This is simply what we have in the program.